Hello everyone, I am Viraj Bhardwaj, the host of the Cosmos Chat. And today, as I announced some days ago, Siddharth is our new co-host at the Cosmos Chat podcast. First of all, I want to introduce himself.
I'm just Siddharth Sharma. You guys might be knowing me from the previous interview. The Viraj uh, gave me the privilege to getting on board and asked me like, okay, and I really love that. Okay, I'm now an co-host in such a wonderful platform, Cosmos Chat, and yeah, I'm really a science communicator. Like I'm into the beginning of science communicator, and I just passed 12th, and yeah, I'm a pre-med student, so I. You can get to know about the different topics like astronomy, cosmology, some regarding my perspectives and some of my philosophical. So yeah, it will be a great journey ahead then.
Fantastic. So today we have a fantastic guest named Saurabh, and I first of all I want to introduce himself.
Hello everyone, and hello to all the listeners out there. And first of all, before beginning my introduction, I would really like to thank the people who actually invited me here, Viraj and Siddharth, and these guys are doing a tremendous job at such a young age, inviting people and talk about things which might interest other people. So a huge thanks to both of you for inviting me here. So yeah, a little bit of introduction about me. My name is Saurabh, and currently I'm doing my master's in astrophysics from Charsat University in Gujarat. And I basically reside from Delhi. And I basically my research work is primarily focused in black hole astrophysics, centered around black hole imaging, doing things related to like the Event Horizon Telescope. I guess you might know about the recent, let's say 2019 image of the MT7 Central Core region, what is supposed to be a supermassive black hole. Not exactly supposed to be, but what is assumed right now to be a supermassive compact object as a black hole. So that's what it is, and that's what I am after, is to figure out the nature of those central compact objects using black hole imaging and spectra and all and any other techniques which might be needed in future. And apart from that, I'm mostly interested in philosophy, and philosophy as in how exactly it triggers science and physics, especially in terms of getting motivation and what are the questions that are actually needed by physics people to perform, and the permission that is actually needed from philosophy to go. So that's what really intrigues me, and that's what I guess it will be centered around. Uh, that's what the talk will be centered around today, if I'm correct. Yeah.
So that was it. And today we are going to talk about physics needs philosophy and philosophy needs physics. And for now, I'm not going to give a proper definition because I don't have it. But yes, I read a website, I read a blog by Oxford University, and I found a great thing which they have written, and I want to read in front of you all so that you can get a clear idea of what is physics and what is philosophy and what's are their relation in brief. Then we'll talk about it in detail. So, physics is concerned with unraveling the complexities of the universe from the smallest to the largest scale. Philosophy deals with the foundational questions of the most general kind: what there is or what we know, and how we came to know it, and how we ought to act and structure our lives. Central to both subjects is the development and application of clear and precise thinking to foundational problems, the questioning of received wisdom, and the critical articulation of ideas which aim for an understanding of how things are in the broadest possible terms. And there's a quote too on their website. I think it's the person who gave that quote is his name is James, and he has said that philosophy has an effect on how you view physics, how we look at where the theories came from. For example, if we are asking, does time exist? As a physicist, you have some idea of what time is, and it brings a different attitude to the whole question. So first, so I want to know what Saurabh thinks about this topic and why he chose this topic for our meeting.
Well, that's a really that's the very first question that everyone asks me, and eventually it actually has multiple answers, not just one. And for one, the answer is that it's really intriguing, and one just really cannot escape this. I mean, we have to think in the most abstract way as possible. you see physics in physics, or we actually deal with things which happen in daily lives, and when we try to decompose that particular problem, we go into more depth, and the more depth we go in, we find that the questions are basically coming just from philosophy, and these questions will only be answered if we go parallelly with philosophy itself. See, we are born, and then afterwards we grow, and as a human being we actually evolve. And when we try to learn about more about ourselves, what happens is that we actually find ourselves in a position where we often think that what's next, and some basic questions arise, that what's the reason for our own existence, or what exactly is our own purpose, and questions like this. And sometimes people find it very hard to actually cope up with these questions, and this find themselves in a state of existential crisis, and then the things just get out of hand. So my basic thing is to understand from a very depth, from a very deep point of view, and to see how exactly it motivates people in science, and how curiosity is actually embedded somewhere in between, which is actually triggering the need of people to satisfy, to find the answers to these particular questions, and to find at least some closure with that and live with it. So that's actually my one of my perspective towards this. So yeah.
Do you want to say something, Siddharth, about this topic? Because the whole plan of the things, I was not aware of this topic. I was confused. What is this, and how what's the relation between them? And Siddharth told me about it, explained the whole relation between it, and I
Mhm.
just want to know. I just want Siddharth to tell about this topic. What is his viewpoint?
Definitely, thank you for handling the whole thing about how trusting me, like, okay, I can try my best for building the bridge between the two things, physics and philosophy. So yeah, I'm from that group of people who are into the favor of things that, yeah, because of philosophy there is kind of progress in the field of physics, right? So yeah, I do believe, because philosophy is the, as per my perspectives, plays a really great role in building anyone's not only character but also interest into field. Like, it doesn't, regardless of physics or mathematics, it do builds the, say, the favor or the interest in every kind of subject. Say, okay, I love nature, the philosophy comes into the why mother nature gave us all the things, how it works, or like, okay, and many poetry then comes into it to modify the way the philosophy the people thinks. And yeah, so I consider poetry, all kind of stuff, some morals, thoughts, quotes that are being said right now, just in this era, it's kind of pillar for that philosophy. That, okay, you might be knowing about the story of the Thomas Alva Edison and his mother. Like, okay, after some years, when he came back to his home, he found a letter from his school that mother didn't like read and conveyed what really actually what was written in the letter. And again, when that after some time, when Thomas Alva Edison self read that letter, he found that, okay, this was the reality, and what my mother, like, because of the philosophical intellectual, say, awareness of his mother, that mother didn't, just like nowadays our parents are making us stopping questions, and they are making us full stop by saying, okay, this is the dumb question, why sky is blue, this is a dumb question. They don't encourage us. Most of the cases, I am not saying all of them, but yeah, but most of the cases they say, "Oh, is the dumb question, the sky is blue, the water is blue, it's okay." But they never say, why not you can just search about the why sky is blue. Then the philosophical, say, chain hierarchy from our ancestral will definitely change. Like, okay, how we cut the nails, like, okay, the philosophical of our ancestor was like, okay, on this particular days we don't have to cut our nails. Okay, and why? Because definitely at those times there was not availability of proper electricity at that time. But yeah, as we grow older, the accessibility of electricity being very accessible to everyone, so nowadays we can cut and nails. But at the time there was to be like, okay, in the night, definitely anyone who's tried to cut his nail in night, in the absence of night, is going to hurt himself or herself. it's no doubt in that. But yeah, that philosophically, okay, we don't have to upgrade that philosophical thing also, but yeah, we also have to upgrade how people thinks by making clear and making generation by generation upgradation to the philosophical things. So yeah, I was talking about how the mother of Thomas Alva Edison uh, not only defined the character that we know today as Edison, and who invented the bulb, right? But yeah, it was a man character, not because of the mother, but because of the presence of philosophical awareness in in his mother, that where it he is today, we know whereabouts. So yeah, philosophy play a really great role in the thing. And yeah, I like, not my experience, but yeah, also my perspective, that Saurabh also might getting into the day-to-day life experiences also, where philosophy plays a really great role by deciding your characters, your personality, what the way you behave, like things, not only in the field of academics also, but yeah, it's all correlated. Saurabh, you might be knowing that in our 10th or 12th, there was subjects of chemistries and physics and all biologies related. And I always used to think, and most of the students nowadays also used to think like, okay, why are teaching us algebras and all kind of equations and things, they are never come. Okay, so at that time, I also used to think like, okay, why they are going to teach us Pythagoras theorems and all. I don't want to be a farmer, like, okay, so I don't want to use that Pythagoras theorem or any kind of thing. Okay, like my teacher explained me that, okay, we can use Pythagoras theorem in farms and like applications. So at that time I was thinking why they are teaching us and all kind of things. But as we grow older and older, I get to know like, okay, philosophy and all science is really like, okay, it teaches you behaving in the society and being a great citizen of any nationality or nation. Just like the civics, how they teach us to being more moral, or say, example, definitely if we are going to add acid into the H2O, that's water, definitely it's going to have exothermic reaction. That how we can relate to the philosophical things, like, okay, if two persons are whenever are going to sit like on a one bench or in a one room, they are every time, most of the cases, they are going to explode. But yeah, we can change them because of their ideologies and their thought process, like, as from my perspective. And yeah, and over to you, Saurabh.
Yeah, I mean that's really great one. I mean, we talked a lot about all these stuff, and it's really amazing. So yeah, I just want to talk more about the topic which you just mentioned, and I guess it will actually help in large to the audience who can actually try to connect with this thing. Is that usually we are taught all these things, algebra, and you talk about equations, Pythagoras theorem, and all those things, and in our high school and senior secondary schools, where we are not really taught what exactly is the motivation behind these things, and how exactly are we going to really apply it. So at least as an astrophysicist, as a person who was actually very much indulged in all those things, I can definitely say that it was worth doing that, because mathematics is the language of the universe. So if you want to understand universe in its most abstract form, you need to go more into mathematics. So once you are indulged in the mathematical part, you are really up for it, then you just need some particular tools, mathematical tools, and then you'll be able to understand most of these astrophysical phenomena. For example, if I would just say, let's say I want to measure stars, right? The distance between certain stars. So I will use parallax method. And if I want to measure what exactly is the brightness, I'll use photometry. So all those techniques are in large derived somewhere from these very fundamental principles which you have been taught in your high school, such as similarities of triangles, basic algebras, and differential equations. And yeah, another important point here on that fact, that if you guys have studied our differential equations, or maybe you will study in higher grades, is that universe speaks differential equations. Because everywhere you see, in quantum mechanics, or you talk about Einstein's theory of relativity, everywhere differential equations pop up. And it's like the solutions to those equations actually describe how exactly things go on there. Let's say, I guess you're already aware about Einstein's theory of relativity, and especially general relativity, which is actually the theory of gravity, and the best one we have till now, after it was succeeded by Newton's. So Newton's law, what does Newton's law said? That if there are two masses, let's say M1 and M2, so they're attracted towards each other by this some force called gravitational force, and they're attracting towards like magnets, and it is possessed, it is possessed by every this particular property is possessed by any particular mass, right? Anything that can occupy space and has volume, which is matter. So everything has this particular property. But then afterwards, after 200 years almost, this Einstein came and he said, no, that's not the correct way. The most correct way that we can think of is the space-time itself. That the space-time is like a fabric of reality, where what happens is that, like, you sit on a sofa and how space-time actually curves. Similarly, what happens that there's some matter, there is some mass in space, so it literally bends and curves the space-time itself. And that when there is some object which is moving around, that it actually is attracted towards it, and it is nothing but just moving what we say geodesics, which is just the natural path which is curved around that particular body. So how those things actually go on. And the important aspect that why exactly we need to study that is the philosophy behind it. And the philosophy is something which was guided, which actually guided all those scientists who actually were in the search of these theories, right? So Albert Einstein was actually, very much intrigued up, and he was actually motivated by Galileo himself. And Galileo was obviously, very much motivated by Aristotle and Ptolemy's theories, and then so on and so on. So somewhere in between, what happened is that there are people who are actually, normally just following the footsteps of people who have already done so much of work in these fields, and now we are actually seeing the results as in the most fundamental way, and we are better able to understand our whole universe as a whole. Let's say in the starting, when Plato was there and he described all the planets and how exactly they're there, and initially we had this very basic theory that Earth is actually at the center of the universe, and everything revolves around the Earth itself. So that actually started the relativity itself, because that's all relativity is all about. We're talking in relative terms. Obviously, from our perspective, we are just stationary, and everything is revolving around us. But if you go from another point of observer, right, it's not exactly not true. So where exactly is the right and wrong here? I mean, do we need to even define right and wrong? That's the main question again, which is guided by philosophy itself. And another important aspect is that this whole framework is just going on and on. And obviously there'll be some people who actually deny that this exactly is not true. I don't know if you already know this, but people like Steven Weinberg, Nobel Prize winning physicist and one of the greatest minds of our generation, has also denied this particular thing. There was this book, I guess its name was Dream of a Final Theory. So in his final book, he actually wrote this thing that he wrote something against philosophy in the title of the chapter, that and in a similar way, Stephen Hawking famously mentioned, like, philosophy is dead, because the questions that were used to be discussed and questioned by the philosophers itself are now in the hands of physicists, which means that physicists are right now answering those questions. And that's something very intriguing, because in terms of when we talk about all those questions, at that moment that they were found to be very impossible to even comprehend by the human minds. But right now we have this formulation, we have mathematical formulation of those questions, and we are actually seeing in our observation in 19, I guess it was 1916 or 17, or maybe way after that. What happened was we had these solutions of Einstein's field equations, where where the equations actually explain how space-time can be perturbed. Perturbed means that there are small disturbances, like waves in water, and like oceans. It's actually there's some waves, and it's actually behaving as if there is some disturbance. So in a similar way, space-time behaves like that. And after 100 years, we finally detected those disturbances in the space-time in the form of gravitational waves. Now that's astounding. And then afterwards, we have this Large Hadron Collider at CERN, who actually, which actually found these Higgs boson particles, and many other certain particles, and finally resolving theory or a long-lasting question about this versus Higgs, what Peter Higgs gave about the very most fundamental particle, at least what they can find right now, and that was Higgs boson. So again, a Nobel Prize that as well. So that's actually something which is really intriguing. Like even now there are some physicists, and these are very famous physicists to be accurate, they actually say that philosophy is no more needed. And that's something that, me personally is really against that. That no, obviously that's not exactly correct. We still need philosophy, and and the importance of philosophy is, very less as what they actually say. And in my term, there's actually way more than that, because time to time we actually need to, go through in the very abstract format and, ask certain questions. And we it might sound funny, but we actually need permission from philosophy that should we even go through that or not. Because you can think it like a radio. Like, see, science actually tunes philosophy, because the answers that we are getting right now, from in scientific observations, there's a lot of astrophysical phenomena going out there, and we use these detectors, we have these telescopes, we have all those brilliant minds working out together, and we try to fit our theories in that. So in some sense, we are actually trying to improve the philosophy itself. Like, okay, the question was that, now the question is now this. So we have answered a few questions, and in turn, we have asked more questions. And once we have this thing, the philosophy itself tunes more into science, because sometimes even science is not correct, but it didn't lie to you, it just learned more. So science is getting tuned as well. So there's this mutual relationship which is constantly going on, tuning each other. And this mutual relationship is somehow, it's not somehow, but it's actually very intriguing. And that's what we all are after. All the astronomers, all the physicists, all the scientists who are actually working in multiple fields, take it material sciences, or take astrophysics, take cosmology, or take, any particular science. It's absolutely necessary to focus on philosophy itself, because that's the basic guiding principle. You have some curiosity, you ask a question, and they are totally after it. And one biggest example is that just after 2 weeks, on 12th of May, Event Horizon Telescope is going to release the first ever image of their data set of the center of the Milky Way galaxy, which is Sagittarius A star. And that's the whole world is waiting for, because they have been after for that for such a long time, almost decades. And people have been theorizing a lot of theories how exactly it will look like, because Event Horizon Telescope, what it does, it is actually, it's a group of telescopes all around the world, and it captures images in radio regime, obviously, at very, very, I'll say horizon scales. Horizon scales, as in the field of view is somewhat around, some Schwarzschild radii, which means, let's say, 2 times mass of that particular black hole. And obviously the mass of the black hole is in millions and billions times of that of our own sun. So that's the important thing. I mean, we see these James Webb telescope, which is recently up in the sky. And I was yesterday going through this particular post where there was this particular star cluster, and it was going through multiple space telescope surveys through all these years. The first was the WISE survey. So the image was a little bit very much blurry. Then there was a Spitzer telescope, which observed the same particular part of the star cluster. Same image. It was a little bit blurry. And then we have James Webb telescope, and it was absolutely clear image. So time to time, we are observing these things, and we are getting a much more clear image. And the same things you can say about Pluto itself. And you see, the basic guiding principle is to get a more clear picture of how exactly things happen in astrophysics or in cosmology or even physics in general. And this is just guided by philosophy itself, because we want to know more about the universe itself. We want to know more about ourselves. So when we say we are studying universe, we actually mean we are trying to understand ourselves, because we are ourselves a part of this universe. We cannot disintegrate ourselves. We cannot just remove ourselves from the space-time, the fabric of reality. We are a part of it. And that's the beauty of it. Yeah, that was it.
So
From my side.
the things you said, I completely agree with them. And yes, you said that like the modern scientists like Stephen Hawking, like feel that philosophy is not like needed now, and it's completely dead according to them. But yes, the things you said, like the curiosity and all the things, we all can feel that philosophy still plays a very important role in our life. And
Right.
we are like the philosophy will be needed always in the future too. The things you said, I guess. And philosophy is the thing which shapes the new personality.
Mhm. Right.
It shapes the new personality. And
Mhm.
the that's example given by Siddharth of
Mhm.
Edison, and Einstein is also said that he was not so much he was like an introvert person in his
Mhm.
childhood, and he
Mhm.
was not able to communicate with them, and like, he was also not he was just an average student in his academics, but yes, his passion towards it and his curiosity of how universe works, and all the things about it, um, this thing made him to like put down the theories like the theory of relativity to us, which is like helping which like revolutionized the whole field of physics. And these his theory is like one of the most important, like is a very like a very big aspect of physics. It's this theory is very helpful if we are talking about the time and the gravity, as you said, that the space time is a fabric and all the things. This theory was just like put down by Einstein, who was not a very intelligent student. He was just an average student and an introvert student in his like childhood. And but his philosophy, his curiosity, and all the things, his Helen Keller was like she was not involved in science, but as you can take her example too, he was deaf and blind, but still his passion towards like learning, reading, and all the things, he have written like a number of books. And from all these examples and from the things you said, we all can feel that philosophy is very important still in today's life, and will have same importance in the future too. Do you want to say something, Siddharth, about it?
Yeah, actually, just okay. Just sort of talk about earlier about the Aristotle and also Socrates, Plato. Yeah, so I just like okay, I'm a strong believer of this quote. Like okay, imagination, like it goes like that. Execution of imagination, like without the execution is just like hallucination. If like if you aren't executing what you imagine, it's like a hallucination, right? So I just want to ask, like there was in Athens, Greek times, there was two people like who kind of really rivalry to the kind of say against each other's ideologies. So there
Right.
was
Right. I heard
I
about that.
yeah, so I
Mhm.
Socrates and Plato, and then Plato's students Aristotle became again came to the Athens with the uh, idea to make a place kind of school there where the both philosophy and the practical knowledge should be taught. And then Galileo, and then all comes like this. So like okay, today's generation in like okay, how Neil deGrasse Tyson is like, he said like okay, the thoughts of the physicists are like the thoughts of the philosophers are been taken by the physicists. It's not like I'm not at least a believer of that, but yeah, I just want to know like uh, what are your thoughts on philosophy on the day-to-day life basis, without like it's not from my perspective it's a good say act, like okay, you having various kind of philosophies of about world in your mind and you are doing nothing about it. You are just telling people yeah it's okay, yeah that's not okay, it should be like that. But what about the execution plan? What about practical knowledge regarding that? So what are your highlights, like your suggestion on it?
Right. I mean, yeah. Yeah, that's something which is really important in terms of, when we talk about practical education. What you just mentioned right now, there is this rivalry between, Isocrates and Plato and the, ancient Athens, and how exactly things worked out. And I guess this is similarly built up on that particular question, because Isocrates were more focused on, they were more focused on practical education, like making skilled people, engineers, doctors, and lawyers, and all those skilled people, professionals in their particular streams. Why? Because they have spent a lot of time perfecting those particular skills, and now they're having this direct application in the society itself. Meanwhile, those from the Plato's Academy, they were actually focusing on more fundamental questions, like we do as in physicists, scientists, as scientists. Why exactly we are here, and what exactly is the importance of all those things, and why are we doing this? So, in my perspective, obviously, both of these things are integrated into one each other. We don't need to rival. on these topics. We don't need a rivalry between those topics. These are something which is really important. You see, when we try to do something like that, wonders happen. And this is something which we have seen. See, and again, the first thing here, everything is actually guided by philosophy itself. And here's the reason. Right. So as I was mentioning that there shouldn't be a rivalry like that happened in Athens, like between the very basic thing with the studying very basic things, the fundamental things is to ask questions to the whole universe, and then preparing professionals in one particular field, the skilled workers who have spent a lot of time in mastering a particular skill, and then having a let's say practical application in our day-to-day lives. And this is something that we have actually seen right now. We actually see in our day-to-day lives exactly how exactly this applies here. Let's talk about one particular example. Say internet. Right, internet is so immensely powerful and it's so helpful to us, and we really cannot imagine our lives in today's scenario without internet. You and me are talking to each other. Why? Because we have this internet connection, and that's something which was actually which the deep roots why internet started lies in the very basic philosophy is to understand how particles collide each other. I mean, that's exactly where it arose from. Somewhere in CERN, there was this physicist who was doing studies about how particles actually collide with each other, and they're colliding at very high energies at very high velocities in a large hadron collider. And then when they actually collide, huge data sets are produced. And there are several physicists all around the world who are actually working on those data sets, and they want the data sets to understand, to make sense of it, because that's how you make sense of the physics. You make sense of physical scenario, how particles are actually, what exactly they're made up of, the fundamental nature of them. And the question is, okay, how share that data set? From there, Tim Berners-Lee, he started this internet thing, which was www. And then from there, everything changed. You see now how exactly is important. Let's take another example. We talk about GPS. I mean, it's another important thing that we really cannot live without. You go to a new city, you go to even your own city, you want to search something, and you're saying, okay, what should I do? You just go to Google Maps or somewhere, and search for that particular thing. Okay, that's there. So how exactly GPS is useful in that way? But the guiding principle, again, it arose from Einstein itself. Without Einstein's general theory or special theory of relativity, we could not have done that, because we need to account for time dilation in space. The satellites need to account for those certain dilations in time itself, so that they're able to accurately pinpoint location on Earth. If there is even a slight mismatch of time, such that they're not synchronized to each other, will have huge uncertainties. So let's say you wanted to do something, you wanted to go somewhere in Delhi and at some particular location, and it might pinpoint you to, let's say, a totally different location, hundreds of kilometers far away, because that's how the things extrapolate at very huge distances. You see now how exactly it is important. Now, each and everything that we do right now in physics today somehow may have practical applications. Obviously, we don't know when, but certainly it may have. Like, for example, another example you can take is that LIGO itself. LIGO, which is laser interferometry, gravitational wave observatory. Right. So what it does is it tries to measure how much space-time is being perturbed. Perturbed doesn't finding a disturbance in the space-time fabric itself. Now, to find those gravitational waves, they need such very sophisticated instruments itself. And those include highly polished mirrors, and those oscillators that they have, the suspensions they need, they have to be super state of the art, so that experiments, and they're able to measure the disturbance, let's say, at smaller than the radii of an atom, which is somewhere around 10 to minus. I don't exactly remember the number. Somewhere around minus 40. Let's say the accuracy that is needed is somewhere. Let's say there's a near star. Let's say how much? I guess it was some parsecs, kiloparsecs, and you can measure the distance to an accuracy of the width of a hair. That's the kind of accuracy that we need. And those instruments can be needed in someday, maybe today or tomorrow. They will be needed in industry itself to make some machines or something like that. So that application is then taken over from those physics itself. So that's how we do. And this is a very basic question which is often asked by people who are investing in science. Okay, these are business people who simply say that, okay, I'll fund you, but how do you benefit me? That's a basic question, and you just really cannot answer it. So you have to be very, very much diplomatic there, because you don't know how exactly it's going to be helpful to them if you do not have such plans. Let's say you're making some sophisticated instruments, and if they'll be directly helpful to them or not.
Hello once again, and now you must be thinking, Saurabh was talking about something and why I interrupted him here. So there's a major, a major problem here, major issue here. You can't listen the next part. Really sorry for that, because the recording of the next part is completely lost. Siddharth was recording. He manages the whole recording part very well, but don't know why. I think there was any, unexpected issue in Zoom's working or something at our end. It could be network issue or something else. So the whole recording, the next part is completely lost. We tried to find it with many methods, like we have complete, like you also have seen in our previous YouTube videos. If you are like listening on Spotify, then you have listened our previous episodes on the podcast, and this never happened to us before this podcast too. We were like obviously recording the meetings, we were obviously attending the meetings, so this didn't happen to us before. But don't know why and how this thing happened to us now. And like it's a very, like, this mistake destroyed the whole episode. I'm really sorry to you all, especially Saurabh, because he given us his time, his efforts was quite amazing, and the whole thing he was talking about, it was quite great, and all the things are like just mind blowing, all the things were. So I I was very happy that I had a meeting with Saurabh, such a great person. He as I talked to you in the, I think, that part is here, that part is there, right? So in the like episode you have listened, that I am saying that I was not aware of this topic or philosophy and all the things, but Siddharth explained me all the things. And Saurabh, he was just an amazing person. His explaining and all the things are quite amazing, because the things he was explaining, like, very understandable to me. I was very comfortable with him. I can talk to him like a friend and all the things. But this problem destroyed everything, because no, it's not a like a very major issue. Issues happen, and we don't have to make a very big thing. We don't have to make this a very big issue. uh, don't worry, you all. You will, like, the Siddharth is, I'm handling this to Siddharth, and he will now tell you the whole thing which happened after this, and he will conclude the meeting. So Siddharth, please.
So yeah, so hey guys, we do talk we do talk on a really good topics regarding consciousness, how a personality is being characterized by or being made a really great, say, valuable personality that we see in our day-to-day lives, like say Elon Musk or anything like that. How the philosophy plays a really important role on making anyone's character or personality. We do talked about how philosophy really in the earlier times and now also nowadays got into say science and all kind of stems like thing from our mythological scriptures and all manuscript. I think we do talked about, like, okay, what we can learn from philosophy and physics, as both plays a very crucial role. So we do talk about many scientists that are against that ideologies of physics and acquisitions of things that is being acquired by the philosophy and the physics. So yeah, we will definitely talk about throughout, like, okay, the talk. So first of all, we talked about, okay, how a philosophy plays a really great say a role in deciding anyone's character or deciding anyone's personality that we see today. You might be knowing that the famous say and incidents of the past that we known as, okay, kind of we can have an example of it, like the Thomas Alva Edison, like when he discovered the letter of, like, the the letter when he got from his school. And at that times the mother read that that school said that you are not that much brilliant or bright a child that they can handle, but but really after the age and decades when he really personally got into the letter and he read, when then he came to find like the school sent a letter to his mother, knowing that your child is being like kind of dumb student in our school, and it make our school's prestige down and we can't take it more further, so we'll make your child say leaving from the school, so please take care of it at your home. But that philosophy that was present in his mother really created the man we know as Thomas Alva Edison, right, who created a bulb out of around 2000 plus of experiments. And why same thing applies from generation to generation when it comes to the philosophy. We came to know about the philosophy of his mother, how he created and changed the mindset of his young boy who was really bad into the studies and being the greatest scientist of our all time, one of the great scientists of all time. So yeah, here it is. And same thing applied to himself also. Like we all know, like the invention of what was not a piece of cake for anyone else, or is just not a one day glory. So after around many tremendous amount of experiments, he kept through one thing common, that is consistency, and that comes definitely from his mother. So yeah, it's a really great place, not only thinking about new ideas, how universe works, how we our human beings possessing numerous amount that are really similar to the numerous, just like our eyes, same as nebulas and the cell divisions kind of things. So yeah, it's all about philosophy. It's not only about how the things works or how it should be happen or how really things is going to be. It's like also a main thing of our character defining terminologies, or say situations that can determine anyone's characters with the help of philosophy. I do believe in hard work and smart work both. And some do in my say group of my friends, they only believe in hard work, or some either on the smart work. That's not true. Yeah, that's true, but not in the way they are thinking. They always used to think like smart work is kind of way that we can make very shortcut paths throughout for our destination or throughout the journey to achieve the goal we want. But it's not like that. And some people think hard work is like all about discipline and maintaining consistency. Sometimes it is and sometimes is it not. It's all depend of our philosophy. Because if you don't know the correct direction you are running in, definitely you are not going to make to your goal. But if you do, definitely it's going to cost a hell lot of time to you. So it's not all about hard work or hard work or smart work. It's all about knowing the way you are going to run towards and knowing the way of your life, your goal kind of things. So we talked about the philosophy as a Plato's and kind of things. Like Plato belongs to the practical knowledge, and Isocrates belong into the theoretical knowledge and all kind of things that and they no so Plato belongs to the knowledge that should be philosophical, like how the laws work, how really actually life or consciousness is all about. And Isocrates works on the practical aspects of it. How to cure someone else while using surgeons and all kind of things. So it doesn't matter whether you focus on practical or philosophical things. Ultimately, definitely we all have to pass from the phase called philosophical mindset kind of thing, where we are going to be at that stage that we are going to find our ultimate goal of life. What the meaning of our life? Definitely is going to be the section of philosophy, right? And why and how I work towards it, definitely going to be the practical knowledge. So it's all about philosophy and physics, how we apply, how we think regarding thing. And So yeah, we discussed about like modern scientists or modern science communication, just like Steven Weinberg or Neil deGrasse Tyson denies the thing that philosophy is not a thing that can be included into the discoveries or inventions or innovations that are going in the day-to-day life basis in the world. They have a tale like, okay, the most of the thoughts of the philosopher is been acquired by the thoughts of the physicists, definitely, but it's not about philosophy of, okay, having one thought, how, why, and how it is work. It's all about the upgrading also of your philosophical ideologies and thoughts, perspectives towards a thing. Okay, definitely we further we talked about how what is real meaning of consciousness. So I do made it a brief say paragraph saying stating that, okay, what about, because as per my perspective I see consciousness as a kind of energy, and we all know that yeah, energy can't be created nor be destroyed. So yeah, I see consciousness as not as a soul or any kind of stuffs like that, but I see as energy. Okay, definitely some people might here will be going to debate, okay, the consciousness is all about the transitions of electrical impulses with the help of your neurons to one another using dendrites and axons and Schwann cells and neuronovia, etc, etc. But yeah, definitely if I like, okay, there is a one living human and there is a dead corpse say beside that living human, both having a neuron, definitely like what makes a person death and a living, it's definitely a consciousness. Some might be arguing about what if the failure of any internal organs can lead to the death. Definitely it's all about immune system. Just like you are driving a car and the person who is driving a car is your consciousness, right? Or we can say soul. So okay, your consciousness driving a car, that is we can refer to as your body. And definitely if the tire is one of the tire gone burst or anything can happen, definitely the balance of your car is going to get disturbed, and ultimately at the last of the accident, the person who was sitting in the car is going to die. But yeah, there are also scenes of most say rare cases where the person might get saved or get a life back. Okay, so it's all about saying that, just like, okay, anyone having a really severe immune disease, just like say corona, and getting a proper treatment of say his car can get alive. So it's all about the thing of consciousness, how it works. So I talked about what if, like, okay, if we are saying, okay, population increasing day by day, but we are not also seeing that the population is also decreasing in the form of that ratios all around the world, either due to cardiovascular diseases or any kind of say mosquito bites or malaria's infections like that. But yeah, HIVs and all. But yeah, in my perspectives, there are a continuous not generation we can refer, but yeah, say chain that goes from one place to one another. Like say, what if I having a consciousness of a pharaoh from the Egypt that was born in around 180 or 50 BC kind of things, or I having a consciousness of anyone else from your country or nation, or let's say India, that's died 50 years ago from my birth. Though it wasn't always supposed to be like this, but yeah, I always believe, and yeah, I'm going to write I'll say that's another matter. But yeah, I think, yeah, what if consciousness in the terms of not philosophical ideological perspective thoughts, we shouldn't be divided into the two opposite groups, what's right and what's wrong. We should be being that middle persons that creates and contributes the most of his life and mind and works towards making a bridge between those things. Just like, okay, if you've seen some Marvel movies, just like say having seen a Falcon suit or Iron Man suit, and let's compare to the theoretical or practical applications, and where it is been proved in the past areas of our scientific work, then why not create a bridge between them and making a real outcome that can either help humanity to being a more better civilization. So it's all about philosophical thoughts can be a really crucial players of anyone's life that can make their mind divert all about the things they love, not in the particular field of science but also in the civics, sociology, and all economics, every aspects of the life. That science doesn't have a monopoly on the philosophy having okay why it is originated and what's the working on it, but yeah, it's all applied in the every single field domain of the science, that is not only domain of science but always in every aspect of life out there in the world. We also have to like say philosophical many kind of ideologies on like that. So yeah, we talked about the philosophical aspects that we can get from our say mythological scriptures, or say Vedic. I would love to use the Vedic more upon the upon. So yeah, I would like say we also talked about like how our mythological scriptures, or say scripture of manuscripts or writing that was in the past inspired the scientists. You might be knowing about Dr. Robert Oppenheimer, okay, the head that was like being able to manufacture the world's first atomic bomb, and when they first detonate it on July 6, I think 1945, and that there was a phrase that was came after from his mouth like okay, I have become the death, and okay, I'll be say overcoming whole the world and making like I am that kind of thing. And after when a reporter or say journalist asks them okay, why did you specifically use this words or say this word after successfully being tested the thing, then he said okay, I'm a really fond of Sanskrit kind of thing. Sanskrit, that's a language, and he used to read Gita, Mahabharat, or say Srimad Bhagavad Gita, say. So Gita, he known about like okay, Krishna saying a text that okay, when to his say learner Arjun, the Krishna is showing his whole potential. Then that in the Sanskrit book of or say Hindu mythology in Gita, there was a thing like okay, that could be a power of 1,000 suns that can take a lives of around 1,000 lakhs of people and will be a say killing machine or kind of next to the god that can have a large impact of any civilization. So here it is. So it can may also anyone's around the world can make anyone think about the philosophical aspects of our mythological scriptures and all kind of things. So it's nothing about like okay, philosophical thoughts came from the mind of something who is really working. It's all about thinking in aspects of betterment of civilization, that is our human civilization, and making society more and more better place. So here it is, we think and discussed about with the Saurabh and my host co-host Viraj. So yeah, here it is. And yeah, at the last we really apologize for our mistakes, and that should not supposed to be happen, but yeah, we ensure you guys that it will definitely not going to happen in the future operations. So yeah, stay tuned with us. And yeah, now okay, over to you, Viraj. Bye.
Siddharth explained this very well, concluded the thing very well, and to Siddharth, whatever Siddharth said, the whole thing, the Siddharth explained it in brief, and we hope like philosophers like this and physicists like this will come again and again in the future, as the people like Heisenberg and Schrodinger, Einstein, Hawking, Galileo Galilei. These people will come again in the future and will constantly come. We still don't know like we can't don't know. It is possible that the viewers among our viewers, someone will become the next Einstein, the next Hawking, and we could all. I'm not saying this thing, but yes, we don't know what is going to happen in the future. But I'm damn sure the progress in the physics field, especially and philosophy, will was playing a major role in the philosophy was playing a major role in the the evolution of physics, and is still playing, and will still playing, because philosophy is the thing which natures have a curiosity, how something works, why something works, what's the reason behind it. These are the questions which helps us discovering something. I like understand this thing. Every physicist like Einstein and all the thing, they tried, they had some curiosity about the nature, about the working of universe and all the things. So that's why they asked the things, like they tried to find their answers. And philosophy will play a major role. AI is coming, and philosophy is going to play a major role in it, because we still don't know what is our consciousness. Siddharth is working on an awesome research, you can say, in which he's like finding that what's the thing, what's consciousness, which is differentiating between a dead body and an alive body, because all the things are same. Everything is working. You can't say it working, but yes, everything is there, like same composition, same everything. So what is the thing which differentiate between a dead body and a alive body, like we and a dead body? Like what's the thing? Is it what is we can the whole thing is, what is consciousness, what is free will, and all the things, and these things is like obviously come under philosophy. And because of these things, if like we get the answers to these things, then we will surely just mind blowing at the thing. You can imagine yourself too, because AI, what is AI? AI is an ability of a machine, or we can say robot, to work on its own, to create, to think, to learn from other things, like just like we the humans. Not AI is still working greatly, using many tactics like object recognitions and many technologies like that under the field of AI. And machine learning is also like working on a great field. But yes, if we get to know answers of these questions, then I'm sure we will you know we will achieve many things in this field. No matter it's AI, it's physics, or it's something other than like astronomy, or something other than these fields and all. Philosophy was always a great was played always a great role in our life, and is still playing a great role, and will still play a great role. I'm saying for sure. So it's time to end the meeting here, and once again I'm really sorry to all of you, especially Saurabh. I'm really sorry, because the whole enjoyment got destroyed, mine too, and obviously yours too. So, it was a great podcast too. Like, it was fun to had a meeting with you, Saurabh. Really, really grateful to you. And so, and yes, there are a number of podcast episodes still yet to come. So be with us, and our journey is gonna be amazing.